Commentary team for this one. James Whittam sits alongside the man who will kick it all off, and that is, of course, Mr. Jack Bernicle.
Back in 1999, Troy Bayliss won here at Silverstone on his way to the British Superbike Championship. Neil Hodgson did the same in 2000, and the late, great, legendary Steve Hislop on his Monster Mob Ducati did the same in 2002. Could it be that Alex Lowes is lining himself up for a possible double win on his way to the British Superbike Championship in 2013? Only time will tell, as Jenny Tinmouth has to push her motorcycle off the grid by the looks of it. The young lady from Ellesmere Port, the two-wheel racing Honda, getting pushed down the grid. Looks like it has got a problem, and it could be that Jenny will not make the start, and if she does, she would have to start from pit lane.
Yeah, and she's actually been off it a couple of times this weekend, unhurt, but it looks like that possibly had effect on the bike.
The championship standings look like this. Alex Lowes is now 4 points ahead of Shane Byrne after their colossal clash in race 1. James Ellison is 34 points adrift on the Milwaukee Yamaha. He is ahead of Josh Brooks, Taiko Suzuki, James Westmoreland, build-based BMW, and Yuichi Kinari's Samsung Honda. 7th place for John Kirkham, ahead of Tommy Bridewell, who had a proper do with PJ Jacobson. They're 1 point apart in 8th and 9th place, ahead of Chris Walker's Quattro Plant Kawasaki. Peter Hickman, Lloyd's British GB Moto Honda, is 11th, ahead of Keith Farmer. Dan Linfoot, who went out of race 1. Josh Waters had a good ride on the Halsall Racing Kawasaki. He's now 14th, ahead of Jakob Smertz, Howie Mainwaring, Michael Rutter, Matteo Baiocco, Barry Burrell and Carl Harris. On pole position on the starting grid, remarkably, is not that man, Alex Lowes, but that man, number 67, Shaky Byrne, in front of Alex Lowes' Samsung Honda and Tommy Bridewell's Milwaukee Yamaha. The second row of the grid headed up by PJ Jacobson, ahead of his unlucky Taiko Suzuki teammate Josh Brooks, with James Ellison's Milwaukee Yamaha in 6th. 7th place for Peter Hickman, loving it round here, ahead of James Westmoreland and John Kirkham on the build-based BMWs. Matteo Baiocco, having a great day on the Rapido Sport Racing Panigale, is 10th, ahead of Frenchman Freddie Foray, making his return to this paddock, riding Samsung Honda, and Barry Burrell on the Quattro Plant Kawasaki. The 5th row behind those guys has Jakob Smertz, Josh Waters and Chris Walker, and after his desperately unlucky early departure from race 1 when torpedoed by Dan Linfoot, we find Norrie Hager back with Linfoot on the 7th row of the grid, so they'll need some sort of start from back there. There's number 21, twice Australian champion Josh Waters, riding now for Halsall Kawasaki. Had a good ride in the first race. James Ellison and Tommy Bridewell will line up on the Milwaukee Yamahas. Bridewell on the front row of the grid, and just behind him James Ellison. That's an interesting combination. There's Bridewell in the black helmet. Behind him to his right will be number 77 Ellison. So Bridewell, he's knowing where he belongs now on the front row of the grid, has a quiet word with brother Ollie, and then prepares for action. Number 67 Shaky Byrne. You would not believe the best way to deal with discomfort is to smile through it, and Shaky Byrne is a master of that art. He sits on pole position on the Rapid Solicitors Kawasaki. Alongside him, the new championship leader, Samsung Honda's Alex Lowes. 14 laps of the 3.66 mile circuit at Silverstone. Off the start, great start by the Kawasaki of Shaky Byrne. Launches into Copse Corner. Alex Lowes almost inevitably in 2nd place, pursued by the 2 Taiko Suzukis, who I think may have got the better of Tommy Bridewell off the start. And as they launch down towards Maggots, it definitely is the Taiko Suzuki's running 3rd and 4th. After Josh Brooks' desperately unfortunate departure from the first race, he's now attempting to force the pace early on against the Samsung Honda's Alex Lowes.
No room for him there. Over the oil spill that's been cleaned up with the dust, you can just see it kicking up.
And now in the hanger straight now, this huge straight down towards Stowe Corner. And Alex Lowes slips inevitably beneath Shane Byrne to open the scoring into Stowe for the first time. Launching round Stowe Corner, down through the Vale. The blue Honda has the advantage just over the Kawasaki and the 2 Suzukis. Number 2, Josh Brooks, running in 3rd place.
Yeah, Ellison, Actually, Bridewell and Ellison. Ellison made a, well, he wasn't going to make a start from 18th in race 1. It was always going to be down with limitation. He's got a chance from where he is now.
So Ellison running in about 6th place. Yep. Hickman, Westmoreland, Kirkham, Biocco and Freddie Foray beginning to really get to grips pretty quickly with the Samsung Honda, the former world endurance champ.
Yeah, and you can see what I was talking about on the grid. The sun is really quite low now, and that's not a problem going that way down the start and finish, but coming the other way, and there's plenty of corners where the sun's right in your eyes and bouncing off the track as well. Oh, yeah, that's could be Hickman.
Peter Hickman, who's been having a really good time of it, both in qualifying and racing. The tall Lincolnshireman goes down as PJ Jacobson just takes a peep beneath his teammate Josh Brooks into Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's all it was, a little bit of a peep. He didn't really make an attempt. There's Hickman walking off, the big Lincolnshire lad.
Plasterer by trade.
It's a good trade. It's an honourable one. I've paid enough plasterers in my time.
Tommy Bridewell is just ahead of teammate James Ellison as they go thundering past us now. The top 6 already breaking clear of John Kirkham, Norrie Haga. Haga? How did he get to 8th?
No idea.
Walker 9th. 2 very, very legendary fast starters. Westmoreland in 10th. Burrell 11th. Smerts in 12th. So leading the way then, number 22, Alex Lowes. And the front 6, we've got 2 Yamahas, 2 Suzukis, a Kawasaki and a Honda running up front. And look at the way they've broken away from the bright green helmet of John Kirkham. Behind Kirkham, Haga, who's really has come a long way from row 7 on the grid.
Look for Shaky having a look up the inside of Alex Lowes. And at the same time as he was doing that, Brooks was just having a peep up the inside of Byrne.
Breaking down through the Vale into the chicane. Look at the ripples and bumps dropping into there.
Did you see the sort of chatter and movement from the front of that Samsung Honda of Alex Lowes? Lots of it over those bumps.
When do you ever hear, you never hear Alex Lowes complain about anything about his motorcycle, does he?
No.
He loves that being out there racing.
Yeah, he does. And traditionally, the Honda is a sweet handling, confidence-giving bike that possibly doesn't now have the top end of the Kawasaki or possibly even the BM. But, you know, you tend to be able to put it where you want. Here we go.
Byrne goes through. Yeah, and the inside line to go into the hairpin.
Yeah, typical setup move, but can you believe how hard Burns is fighting? I mean, even on the grid you can see he's quite pale in the face. He looks like he's had some painkillers, a little bit steady in the way he talks, and just, yeah, fair play to the lad.
Yeah, I think the painkillers just might be beginning to affect the speed of thought. Oh, as Jacobson surely went through into 2nd place.
He's still with it.
Forced his way under Josh Brooks.
Not for long.
Says, no, you're not having that, son. I'm fighting for my place.
They're still at it. And PJ Jacobson had to shut the throttle to stop his teammate chopping his nose up there.
So that is Josh Brooks, hard-riding 30-year-old former 3rd place man in the World Supersport Championship. Leads the way, the former Australian Supersport and Superbike champion, as we see a move by Tommy Bridewell. He takes advantage of the fact that, if you like, it's been a slightly unsettling few moments for PJ, and that allows Bridewell to lunge through into 4th place.
I've got to say, I expected Ellison, with the start he's made, being right in the back of him, to have started making some kind of move from there now, because I think he honestly has the pace to do it. There he is.
So what Ellison needs is some of the kind of the spark that he was showing at ASSEN before he was so cruelly halted by an engine packing in.
Yep.
As we watch Shaky Byrne pulling away a bit.
Yeah. What about this?
Well, not the state that he was in yesterday after that colossal high side. You would never have done. Byrne, Lowes, Brooks, Jacobson.
Too early to start talking yet, but if they finish like they did, which I'm sure they won't, there's lots of racing to do yet in this race, that would be Byrne back in front by 1 point, I think. Not close, do you want it?
That would set it up fairly perfectly,
wouldn't it?
The Quattro Plant Kawasaki's of Chris Walker and Barry Burrell running strongly in 9th and 10th places ahead of Jakob Smerts on the Paget's Honda. Josh Waters back in the mix again in 12th ahead of Westmoreland. Biocco. Freddie Foray has been punched back to 15th place ahead of Dan Linfoot and Michael Rutter, a former winner round here 10 years back.
Yeah,
9 years back anyway.
Michael Rutter's a former winner round everywhere.
Yes, you're right.
He's done enough racing. He's won everywhere in his career as Michael. None of it made him smile, though, I've got to say.
He has a quiet way of expressing his joy.
He's a funny lad. He's a very, very dry sense of humour, as Michael.
as they come steaming back down the Wellington Straight and drop just slightly downhill into Brooklyn's left-hander.
What Shane Byrne needed, and I don't think it's going to happen now, was for Brooks or for Bridewell just to have a little bit of a pop or a lunge at Alex Lowe's. And I think he's just got a bit of breathing space from Brooks, but on the number 2 bike behind him now.
So as they call, howling round Copse Corner, a third gear, 90-mile-an-hour left-hand, beg your pardon, through Woodcote, now into Copse Corner, 90-mile-an-hour third gear right-hander, and then they burst up from there as we watch Chris Walker. Chris Walker ahead there of Norrie Haga. So Walker making progress, has pushed his way past Nitro Norrie. So a good ride from Walker, who's had a few problems during qualifying, but said, you know, in typical Walker fashion, yeah, we'll be all right once we get out there racing.
Yeah, Walker and Haga will know each other on track. It's been a few years, but they will have raced. They'll race together at World Superbike level before. Quite a lot, actually.
Norrie led that Sub-Aqua famous 2006 ASSEN race before he crashed, and Walker took the win, and he's back in front of Chris right now as they storm down the Hanger Straight. There's number 4 Linfoot, tailed by number 78, the World Endurance Champion twice over Freddie Foray. Number 11 Michael Rutter just ahead of the
Alpha Racing Kawasaki.
Yeah, the Costello.
Yeah, you know, one thing I can't believe about Freddie Foray, he's never actually raced Silverstone. Of all the racing he's done, he's never been here. I was shocked at that when I spoke to him on Friday.
Back with the leaders. There goes Shaky Byrne just ahead of that sextet, and then number 10 Kirkham really all on his own, with Norrie Haga leading the marauding gang behind. Haga, Burrell, Smertz, Waters, Westmoreland.
Haga said he had a few issues with the front end of that rapid solicitors Kawasaki, and Haga's a rider that if he doesn't have a settled front end, a really good front end, he ain't ever going to win, because everything he does is based on his ultimate kind of confidence and skill at dealing with that front end. I've ridden his bikes and they're almost impossible to ride. He's that much weight on the front.
Tommy Bridewell has snooked past Josh Brooks, so he now is in 3rd place on the Milwaukee Yamaha, so he's doing everything he possibly can to convince Sean Muir to sign him for next year, ahead of the 2 Taiko Suzukis. Shaky Byrne still leads the way. He's got virtually half a second advantage over Alex Lowe's on the Samsung Honda. Oh, that looks a little less than half a second now, 0.3 of a second now, and look at Alex Lowe's hauling back in the leading Kawasaki. And then we've got Bridewell, Brooks, Jacobson, Ellison. That is the front 6, and you can see that what Ellison needs to do is get the Taiko Suzukis, because he's losing ground on the front men.
And I think he knows that.
Tommy Bridewell, meanwhile, is beginning to hook a line onto the Samsung Honda of Alex Lowe's and beginning to look rather dangerous.
Do you know what it is about Bridewell is he's just started to believe in himself. He's started to believe he's a factory rider. He deserves to be on the podium, and why not? You know, he's got to the point now where he knows he can run the pace, and that's a good thing, and that leads to confidence, and that makes you go even quicker. Good ride from Bridewell, this.
Bridewell,
having said that,
he could press through to 2nd place. It took him a while to get PJ Jacobson in the first race.
He did.
And notice that whatever's happened here, it's allowed the Taiko Suzukis to come file back up again.
Yep.
So Brooks is back with Bridewell.
Yep.
Josh Brooks running in 4th place, PJ Jacobson in 5th. What a contrast in just style, build, outlook, everything between the Australian and the New Yorker.
Yeah, Bridewell, really lively lad. You see him coming after a practice session, especially when he's gone pretty quick, which he does do regularly these days. And he takes his helmet off and starts talking to his crew chief, and it's like a chimp that's had acid. He just yaps away, and I'm sure the crew chief gets some of it. I'm fairly confident not all of it.
Combined with his glorious Charlie Chaplin walk, he is quite a character, isn't he?
I'll tell you what he does, though. He'll sit in the garage. He wants to be part of a team. He wants to be part of a garage. He'll sit all night just about and watch his mechanics work on the bike. And I kind of like to see that, you know, instead of a rider who'll just sit down, give his feedback and clear off to the motorhome park.
Well, he's always messed around a lot with mechanical things, hasn't he? So it interests him greatly.
Yeah, that's what he does. He actually has a little place where he does servicing on bikes and repairs and all that, and sales now, all the rest of it.
He got a good drive there and almost managed to get underneath the Samsung Honda on the whip up past us into Copse Corner. And he'll be looking, he'll be thinking, where can I get a drive? It might be through into Maggots there. He tried to go inside, but not quite.
It's so fast there, you've got to make a decision quite early if you're going to do it, because once you commit to it, there's no turning back there. Not without a big mess if it goes wrong.
These guys are all lapping Brooks fastest with a 2 minute 6.9 on the last lap. The only 2 minute, sub 2 minute 7 on that lap.
Bit of a mistake there from Shane Byrne in the lead. He ran really wide. That cost him a little bit of time, and now Alex Lowe's right on his back wheel.
And Lowe's looks to try and find a way through. No, the Suzuki in 4th place, James. It doesn't seem to quite have what it takes to draft away past on the Hanger Straight. He seems to just lose that little bit of ground before he reaches Stoke Corner as we watch Alex Lowe's snap his way back to the front.
Did you see Shane Byrne look across there and see Alex Lowe's come in and just sort of give him the room? What we're seeing here. Oh, that is a big...
James.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Oh, wow.
What's happening there?
What a save.
I can't believe that. That's and
save of the century for
and straight back on the power. Straight back on. Unbelievable. I'll tell you what, I hadn't seen anybody nearly crash like that. That was as near as you get.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, it's a good job his beautiful Texan wife is pregnant, because that may not be likely to happen again after a mishap like that. That was fantastic. Byrne, Lowe's, Bridewell, Brooks, Jacobson, and then the extraordinary surviving Ellison in 6th place ahead of John Kirkham, although now, of course, somewhat detached from this group of 5.
Yeah, we're going to see it again. Look, back, the rear bike. Look at that, it's gone. It grips again. He's off one side, and at that point, you'd be thinking, do you know what? I'll let go. But and that's Javier Beltran, the Samsung team manager. Look.
Javier, as a former Grand Prix motocross mechanic, would really admire that save.
And no mug of a rider on a motocross bike either, have they?
So Lowe's, Byrne, Brooks at the front, and again these two just seem to suddenly mid-race, as we hit lap 7 of 14, to find that little extra bit of pace that opens up a gap between them and their pursuers. Yeah, last lap for Lowe's was a 2:06.6, which is almost the fastest lap of the race. Byrne now holds it 2:06.5 from earlier, but Byrne was a 2:07.3. So yeah, this is why Lowe's is in front, and this is why the pace has gone up now, and they're pulling away from 3rd place man Bridewell. Matteo Baiocco's made a remarkable recovery. He got battered back to 15th on the first lap, but he's now back up to 10th on the Rapido Racing Ducati, and pestering Norrie Harder in 9th place. So it's great to see the Ducati getting back on song and back on the pace here as we... Oh, mind you, Matteo very politely and generously did say to me that this track kind of suits the Panigale. He said, if you remember, Carlos qualified front row for World Superbikes here, Carlos Checa. So down at the unused start and finish straight, and that moment from that mistake from Shaky Byrne has allowed Alex Lowe's just off the hook a little. Shaky really late into the left-hander through the Vale chicane. Yeah, and we'll see what Shane Byrne has got now, because there is a gap, there is that half-second. Lowe's seemed able to lap a bit quicker, and then you say it, and in the slow stuff. There's Jacobson. Yeah. Jacobson moves through on Josh Brooks. So one Taiko Suzuki snaps up another. Brooks tries to come back at him. Oh, well, that was a pretty intriguing move. Can he get the drive down the straight? His pint-sized American companion comes alongside him. See the difference in size as you saw them from the back there. But Brooks determinedly clings on.
Yeah, Jacobson just had the run on him down the straight because Brooks had to go in just a little bit quick to repass Jacobson.
So the two Taiko Suzukis battling it out tooth and nail here. Josh Brooks from Bringelly in the suburbs of Sydney. There is number 67, Shaky Byrne. Back in his native Kent, Sittingbourne in Kent. Ooh, look at them. The revolving Samsung Honda there, trying to buck Alex Lowe's out of the seat.
Yeah, that's hard on the power. That's just the tyre trying to find a little bit of grip, and it's a little bit ripply there as well, going out of turn 1, and not a problem. I mean, he didn't have this. It didn't cost him any time whatsoever. It just looks good for us.
This spectacular old Second World War aerodrome that first came into motorsports use back in 1948 and has been in prominent use ever since, as we see Shaky Byrne trying to creep back underneath on the Hanger Straight.
In the long shot, looking back up Hanger Straight, just watch, there's a couple of big old crows just sat there. They've been there for about 4 laps having a watch of this.
I wonder if they're selling anything. as we drop through the chicane round to Club Corner once again. Alex Lowe's in the lead. We're on the 7th lap of 14. We're on the 8th lap of 14, pretty much precisely half race distance, and the only man who's been able to go with them is that lad Tommy Bridewell, running in 3rd place. And with his last lap at 2 minutes 6.9 against 2 minutes 6.6 for Shaky Byrne, he's just clinging on to the leaders.
It's difficult to tell, you know, with Shane Byrne, whether he is in turn just clinging on to Alex Lowe's or whether he's got something in hand. You know, the faster stuff, Lowe seems to have it. The slow stuff, Byrne, and you wouldn't expect that injured.
Shane Byrne on the his teammate Norrie Harger's not helping him a great deal at the moment. He's dropped back to 12th place. Bayoko's got Westmoreland and moved up to 9th and is just behind Chris Walker. It's good to see the Ducati making forward progress as we watch Alex Lowe's once again with number 67 Shane Byrne right behind him round the left-hander. And this is the opening out, of course, into the fabulous, famous Woodcut corner, onto the traditional start and finish straight here, heading to Copse Corner. The front 3 riders on that lap, 2.6.9, 2.6.9, 2.70, so nothing in it between Lowe's, Byrne and Bridewell. Oh, that is just the speed at which they switch back their way through there. Yeah, this in the dry, this section of track is quite predictable. In the wet, it is just so slippy. And one of the problems you've got here at Silverstone is when it is wet, there's a big difference between the new tarmac that's grippy and the old stuff here, which is really, really unpredictable. And here we're looking back at... We've got Westmoreland, Jakob Smerts is out there, Norrie Harger's out there. There's number 11, Michael Rutter on the Batham's Honda, and he's running, well, just outside the points. This is all a battle for the points. 27 Westmoreland, 96 Jakob Smerts, 41 Norrie Harger. A little disappointing round here. There's Halsall Kawasaki's new boy, Josh Waters, running behind Norrie in 13th place, just ahead of Dan Linfoot. And what about number 15, Matteo Baiocco, now ahead of Chris Walker. Baiocco through to 8th place, having a storming ride. And all this because they've moved the foot pegs back 25 mil and moved his weight back 25 mil and got more side grip, James.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure where that's just made the difference. Other things have changed as well. He likes the circuit. The bike seems to suit this circuit, but this is a good ride.
One or two factory parts that the World Superbike Ducatis have got as well that have been fitted while they were testing at Misano and Mugello, so it certainly worked well for them here as we watch the battle back at the front between Lowe's and Byrne, and Shaky looking as if he wants to line the Honda up as they drop down towards Brooklyn.
That'll do it. Aye, thank you.
Sweet as you like.
Yeah, it was. It really was. And you know, apart from the kind of blip we had with that move by Alex Lowe's at ASSEN, we've seen nothing but good, clean, hard racing from this pair pretty much all season.
Shaky Byrne round Woodcut Corner once again onto the straight to complete his 9th lap. So we've got 5 laps to go between these two around this beautiful 3.66 mile circuit here at Silverstone.
Shaky now, he must be just running on pure adrenaline and prescription painkillers at this point. I don't know how he's doing it.
I've never seen a man swallow so many at once. I said to him, did you take all 4 of them at once, or did you just like it was just one mouthful, bang, straight down?
Yeah, well, whatever he's done, it's working.
Onto the hangar straight, so-called, of course, because there used to be a couple of huge aeroplane hangars alongside it in the days gone by when they first started racing here.
Yeah, and not too long ago, you know, they stayed there until quite late on, you know, into the 60s. Late 60s, the hangars were still there.
There's a Stowe Corner named after the exclusive public school just up the road, Stowe School, that we drive past on our way here.
We drove past pretty quick with our Charlie Hiscock at the wheel this morning. I didn't see much of it.
Oh dear, you would do, because he's got a new, even faster car, hasn't he?
Allegedly, yes.
And then storming down towards the big swooping right-hander at Abbey Curve. And then swinging round the equally quick left-hander at Farm. Well, there was a Farm, of course, in the early days. And look at this battle going on behind with involving the two Taiko Suzukis, and now indeed PJ Jacobson. Has he got ahead? No. Josh Brooks still there, and still James Ellison trying. Now he's got back onto their back wheels, trying to find a way past the Suzukis.
When you consider what Ellison got away with there, and he dropped a couple of 3 seconds back, he's having a not such a bad ride. I mean, Ellison, how he stopped on anyway, to take you 2 or 3 laps to get over that on its own, that incident. Back at the front, and Bridewell's not far off these pair now.
No, Bridewell's lapping at the same pace. In fact, he was slightly quicker than Alex Lowes on the last lap by about 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, Alex was held up on the last lap by getting past. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Yes, you're doing very well. Just keep it there, young man. Whatever the pain barrier is you're going through.
Back in the early days of his racing, Ron Haslam didn't read a right so well, so they put him he had a big thumbs up, about 4 foot. And they'd stick it out, and if he was doing well, the thumb was up. If he was doing not so good, the thumb was down. That's all he needed.
Shaky Byrne leads the way. Came from fairly humble beginnings. His adopted dad, Popeye, had no driving licence, travelled everywhere by train, and worked as a nighttime maintenance fitter on London Underground. But Shaky never wanted to do anything else but be a bike racer, and here he is enjoying it as he loses the lead. Well, not enjoying it quite so much at that moment. Oh! Wow. As he just gets in, he got a bit blinded perhaps there and just lost the curb on the way into Stoke Corner.
Yeah, not as much grip on the paint. You've got to be careful. You saw him sit the bike up and get it off the curb.
Bridewell was 3 or 4 tenths quicker than these two on the last lap, James. You can see the gap has closed. Could Thomas George be looking for his first ever win here? What do you reckon?
Hang on, let me just... You've asked me if I think that Bridewell wants to win.
No, I mean, do you think it's possible that he could at this stage? We're on the 11th lap of 14.
Yeah, I think it is possible. I mean, obviously... I think he's going to struggle unless Shane Byrne and Alex Lowes beat themselves up more than they are doing now. But he's there. I mean, look.
And there's a dramatic goings on behind because Brooks has retaken 4th place from Jacobson. So we've got 2 sets of 3 chewing lumps out of one another here as we reach the climax of the second race of the weekend at Silverstone. Remember, in a fortnight's time, we'll bring you all the action from Brands Hatch as this MCE Insurance Pretty Superbike Championship and indeed the support classes reach their blistering climax.
11 of 14 we're on now.
And the thing is, you wouldn't bet against Shane Byrne if he's in reasonable health at Brands Hatch. He loves his home track.
He does. He's not been beaten there in years when he's finished.
But he'll find himself with a 9-point deficit in the championship unless he can do something about Alex Lowes in the closing 3 laps of this race.
Yep.
We're on to the 12th lap of 14.
He's got a good run at Lowes there.
As they go swooping round through maggots. And that fabulous sweeping series of turns. You've got to be so accurate through these, James. And
absolutely.
At the speed you're tipping through them. Big test.
Yeah, and it's difficult to be accurate when you're going from one corner leads directly into another. There's 4 in one go there. And, you know, 2-inch out of line on one, and you've a foot out of line on the second, and 2 feet on the third.
There's Biocco leading number 27, James Westmoreland, number 9, Chris Walker in 10th. And then Smertz, Waters, Linfoot, Barry Burrell, Norrie. Hager has been forced back to 15th place on the second of the Rapid Solicitors Kawasaki's. But great ride by Biocco. They're storming the Hanger Straight.
It is.
Running in 8th place. That would be their finest result of the season for Rapido Racing and the Ducati Panigale, the double Italian champion from 2011 and 2012. Back at the front, Alex Lowes straining every sinew to get away and open that gap on, and Shaky Byrne, it might be working for the young Lincolnshireman as well.
I think it is, and I think if he can put a couple of laps together really clean and hit his marks and not make a mistake. And
his last lap, James, was a 2:06.6.
And that is every bit as quick, just a gnat slower than Byrne did earlier on lap 2 at a 2:06.52. That's why he's gapped him.
So the 12th lap of 14, and Shaky Byrne, is he going to have to give best at this moment in time to Alex Lowes? As I say, Lowes would then have a precious lead in the championship when they're headed for Brands Hatch in a fortnight's time, where hopefully Shaky Byrne might be feeling a slightly more comfortable physical state than he is right now.
Yeah, it's only 2 weeks, but yeah, they've yet to assess exactly what's wrong with Shane Byrne. It's soft tissue and it's ligaments and it's all that. Sometimes they look pretty quick and sometimes they don't. Ligaments notoriously tricky.
as they howl past us now. What a superb sight as they pass beneath us down that the main straight there into Copse Corner. They're travelling at about 170 miles per hour as they go past us. And once again, Shaky Byrne, when you think he's lost the toll, just pulls himself back.
I know. Just holds himself by his bootstraps and seems to just have a little bit of something.
So it's Lowe's, Byrne, Bridewell, Brooks, Ellison, Jacobson. Ellison's finally broken up the two Taiko Suzukis and is burst through into 5th place. So in the background there, coming down the hanger straight as we watch Shaky Byrne try to have a look there once again into Stowe Corner. Ellison 5th, Jacobson 6th, ahead of Kirkham, Biocco, Westwell and Walker.
Bridewell's broken, I think, now. He's pushing on. I've seen him run wide a couple of times in the last lap, and I think he's trying really, really hard to maintain the pace of the Lowe's and Byrne.
Shaky's looked really, really steady, hasn't he? He's just looked really comfortable. The bikes look strong and stable.
Yeah, he's just he's a well-experienced, fast, economical rider with his style. You know, he's not chucking the bike around all the time. That really helps when you're riding injured and struggling to move anyway.
It's 10 years since he won his first British Superbike Championship. Remember, he took a double victory in World Superbikes at Brands Hatch as a wild card on that Ducati back
did.
then.
Yeah, he rode that really well. Started life in British Championship on a Suzuki when it was a 750cc limit for 4s. It was a powerhouse or something. It was something like that, a tuning house. Suzuki as a privateer, and boy did he ride that. In fact, oh, here we go.
Oof. And as they go dipping round at the long right-hander now, that'll open out. Oh, dear me, this is going to be another gripping climax between these two.
Yeah, it is.
There's a climb to my feet to see them coming keeling out of Woodcote. Oh, absolutely together. Shaky got a terrific run out of Woodcote. So did Alex. They're on to the final lap into Copse Corner. So once again, between these two protagonists, all to play for between Shaky Byrne and Alex Lowe's. It's another classic. And what Shaky could dearly do with is just reversing the ultimate result.
That'll make a massive difference going into Brands Hatch for the last round and last 3 rounds, last 3 races of the championship. If Shane Byrne can just beat Alex Lowe's, that'll mean he'll lead by 1 point going into Brands.
So as they storm down the hanger straight now, up to 185 miles an hour in 6th gear, heading for the 80 mile an hour right-hander at Stowe Corner. Alex Lowe's protects his line into Stowe. He's comfortable enough there. 2 or 3 bike lengths advantage.
He's difficult.
Shaky has a moment mid-corner. He's trying to get the drive to attack as they go down through the Vale. Yeah,
difficult to see now for me where Shaky's going to get Alex Lowe's. He might have a plan. He said he did in race 1.
But he just messed up. He wanted to get into the complex ahead of him, but where he messed up was Aintree and the exit onto the Wellington Straight.
It was, and that cost him.
And Alex knows that he's got to try and get as much space between himself and the Kawasaki as he can before they reach the loop. Onto the final lap, he's doing that. He's rushing through farm and village.
Yep, this is it now, into the slower section of the track. A big right-hander here, and then right back down the gearbox.
And this is where Shaky might try. No, he can't. He's now concentrating on getting a really clean exit from Aintree.
Dead right.
That's what he wants. He needs to get the drive onto the Wellington Straight. The Kawasaki and the Honda Fireblade howl out. Oh, giving everything. He's going for the right-hand side. And that surprised me as he moved over to the right. Alex protects his line. Shaky tries to go outside the long way round into Brooklands. What he desperately doesn't want to do is have anything go wrong.
And Alex hasn't left him any room at all there.
Alex,
no room.
Really tidy. Clips the curb, holds onto the curb. Shaky goes for the inside line. He can't find a way through. Alex perfect through the final turns. Surely is going to take victory once again. Oh, how close was that? 12.012 of a second. Byrne gets it. Shaky did grab the advantage from Alex Lowe's and Tommy Bridewell. James Ellison 4th.
Unreal.
The better of Josh Brooks and Jacobson. I thought Shaky might have just done enough. Great ride by that man, Matteo Biocco. He finished in 8th place. Wow. Westwell and Smurd Walker.
12,000th of a second. 12,000th of a second. Byrne beats Lowe's. Unreal.
That was some finish. Look at this lot pouring over the the line, and it looks as if Shaky did grab it. Isn't that extraordinary? I don't think Paul Bird can believe.
I think Shane Byrne knows it, because when you're in this touch-and-tie races, that you look across and you can make a bit of a judgment yourself.
Shane Byrne,
what a ride.
That was some move he pulled then. I did not think it possible. He got that amazing drive coming out of Woodcote on the final lap. That makes a big difference. Result confirmed has come up on our screen. 12 thousandths of a second. Shane Byrne beats Alex Lowes. That is a vital, vital, vital victory.
You brave old man. that is just such a good ride, is that?
Shaky Byrne.
You never give up. Do you know?
Yeah.
You never give up.
James? How did
he's on the inside and he's got the drive, that's why. He's straighter, he's more, the bike's, he's got all his turning done early and got a straighter run at the line.
Oh dear.
That's...
we'll be with you in a few hours, folks. Hang on, here we go.
See, here we go. Reminiscent of Sheen and Roberts, this one, same corner. Look at that. Oh. That's what 12 thousandths of a second look like. 12 thousandths of a second is less than a tyre width.
Wow. Javier Beltram can hardly believe that. That was some result.
You couldn't have had a fairer weekend between them boys. They were one each. The championship is still 1 point. 1 point Shane Byrne leads going into Branch. You couldn't have had a fairer weekend. They both deserved exactly what's happened this weekend, these guys.
Well, that was we couldn't quite clock that Lowes had not won that, because he had this advantage as they went into the final turn.
And you know, at this point, a misgear, a little bit of a slide at the back where you've got to back the throttle off, would have made all the difference. And what a good ride that was from Shane Byrne. Can't say enough.
What a hero.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that looks like a dead heat to our naked eye.
Well, that's 12 thousandths of a second. That is a tyre width. That's probably about 6 inches.
Yeah. Shaky Byrne. Well, that was amazing. To see someone pick up the drive out of Woodcote like that, and to be able to pick the man who'd kind of held absolutely where he needed to be on track for the previous 3 or 4 turns. That was amazing. So Shaky Byrne never gave up and somehow dragged out there. Well, you can tell he still wants to be British champion. The reigning champion, Shaky Byrne, Rapid Solicitors Kawasaki, grabs the narrowest conceivable victory over Alex Lowes on the Samsung Honda. Tommy Bridewell, Milwaukee Yamaha, in 3rd place. James Ellison yanked 4th place off the Taiko Suzukis on the final lap. Brooks 5th, Jacobson 6th. John Kirkham, build-based BMW 7th. Matteo Baiocco, Rapido Sport Racing Ducati in 8th. James Westmoreland 9th. Jakob Smertz, Paget's Honda in 10th place, ahead of Chris Walker's Quattro Plant Kawasaki. Josh Waters, Halsall Racing Kawasaki. Dan Linfoot, Lloyd's British GB Moto Honda. Nori Haga 14th. Freddie Foray's Samsung Honda grabs the last point ahead of Barry Burrell, Lee Costello, Michael Rutter, Aaron Zanotti and Martin Jessup.
So here we go then with our 3rd place finish up. Once again, it's Tommy Bridewell. Tommy, this podium's getting to be a bit of a habit with you.
Yeah, you know, this morning, the first race today, I felt pretty good and I felt the bike was working well. But we didn't get away with them. It's quite simple, really. That race then, I managed to get the start and so. Good to battle past, obviously, PJ and Josh, but a bit of a fight. So that was good fun for a few laps. And then I really just thought, right, get my ass in gear, you know, let's have a go. Let's take this a bit serious in the degree, like, I know I can beat them. I know I can beat them. They've just a little bit...
Well, you know, your lap times were as fast as anything that we've seen out there.
Yeah, the last 3 laps, literally, I was turning into the first corner, and the rear wasn't the problem. It's just the front. I was just losing the front everywhere, and I was like, you know, God, this is on the limit. So that they can go this race, you know, that's that. But I'm glad I showed the whole race I could run it to them, you know, and I pulled the gap behind me. There was no one behind me, and I had a good shot, you know. Massive thanks to Sean and everyone at Milwaukee Yamaha bike team. The whole package I got, everybody I got behind me is fantastic, you know, is really good. And I just, to be honest, on the outlap before the race started, the sun was coming down, and I was first out on track, and I was like, what a beautiful place. You know, the sun was down and it was just fantastic. And I thought, you know, 14 laps of just tearing a motorbike around Silverstone where you're lit up sideways around the last corner, and, you know, what could be better?
It's a great performance from you. Another mature ride, another great podium. Very well deserved. We'll let you go to it. Well done.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
You got Tommy Bridewell from Milwaukee Yamaha. Right, let's move down into Parc Ferme because Shane Byrne is having a bit of a rough time at the moment. We'll get to him in 1 second. But I want to just grab the second place finisher, Alex Lowe's, which I will do now. Alex, just step round here. We'll have a quick chat with you. Alex, 1 point between you and Shaky coming in, 1 point between you and Shaky going out. Some great racing that's happened today. Sum it up for us.
Awesome. You know, yeah, you don't like to finish second, but you know you got to take your hat off. We've had a few battles like that this year, and it's fantastic. You know, and yeah, basic level pegging going to Brands. You can't ask for much more. Championship's going to be good, and whoever works best at Brands is going to be British champion.
What's your thoughts going into Brands?
Yeah, I like it. You know, all the pressure's on him. It's his own race, and people expect him to win. But you know, I don't think it's going to be as easy that for him. You know, I'm going to give everything I've got, and yeah, I'm pretty sure we shouldn't be too far away.
Just like normal. Well done.
Cheers, mate.
There we go, second place finisher, Alex Lowe's. Right, let's go and grab the man who won that race, Shane Byrne. Shaky, you got a bit of colour back in your cheeks now. That was a hell of a race. What a performance, a heroic ride, the ride of the day.
I don't know what to say, really. I mean, I thought I had a plan, and I tried to lead, and Alex tried to lead, and, you know, we both had a fairly similar pace. Then he went quick at the end, and, you know, on the last lap there, I really weren't too sure what the plan was going to be, and I thought about having a look into Luffield, where he done me last year, but I knew that if I went in there that quick, my bike wouldn't hold a line so well. But then I kind of stood it up to get a run, and he started off a little bit wide on the entrance to the last corner here. Just so that he had a good run through, and I just kept it pinned and went through the inside and thought, blimey, I hope this works. But I'm absolutely ecstatic. I knew it would have been really, really close, but I had a good feeling that I'd won it, and flipping out, what a time to come.
Astonishing. I don't know if you've seen it or not yet, but here is the photo finish. That's 12 thousandths of a second. I'll just hold that up to the camera there. Let's let the camera have a look at that. That's 12 thousandths of a second crossing the line there, about as close as it's possible to get. Shaker, what does this mean for you now going into Brands Hatch? We've got 2 weeks to go. You're carrying an injury, clear to see, but how do you feel about Brands Hatch in the final round?
Well, you know, a good friend of mine actually put things in perspective for me at earlier on after the first race, and he just said to me, he said, look, you know, if Alex wins again today and you get second, it means you go into Brands with a 10-point deficit. You'd ride no different with a 10-point deficit than you would with a 10-point lead. You're still going to want to win races, so it don't mean nothing. Don't panic. And, do you know, I thought it was quite wise words, really. And he's an ex-racer himself, so I thought, do you know what? He's right. But then that last lap opportunity presented itself, and blue mist come down, or red mist, whatever it's called, and, yeah, away we went.
Well, the blue mist if it was the blue bike in front of you, red mist if it's you in front. And going to Brands Hatch, you're going to get a lot of crowd support. You always do. What does that mean to you as a local lad?
You know, Tony, really, the reality is that, you know, I need to beat Alex and Alex needs to beat me. That's the long and the short of it. And, you know, we're the two guys at the moment that are kind of away a little bit at the front of the championship. You know, we're both absolutely on the limit. I mean, he had as many moments as I did. And, you know, over a lap, we're fairly kind of equal. But, you know, he had some strong points and I had some strong points. And I'm sure it'll be the same at Brands Hatch. But, you know, they're going to be 3 tough races. And if they're anything like as much fun as these two have been today, then bring them on.
So much looking forward to that. We'll let you go to the podium. It's going to take a while for you to get up there, but well done, Shake.
Thank you very much.
There we go, Shane Byrne. We will let him go up to the podium, whichever way he's going. Which way are you going, Shaky? There we go. Don't worry about it. It's fine. You got the injury. We'll let him go up to the podium. Don't forget, you can always get more information from BSB. You can go onto the BSB Facebook and Twitter page if you want to have a look at the photo finish. This photo finish here that we've got a printout of, that one there, if you can see it. If you want to see that in more detail, you can see that on the Facebook and the Twitter page. Right, well, the boys are going to make their way up to the podium. So let's go back over to Jack, who will take us through everything as we get up there. Commentary team for this one, James Whittam sits alongside the man who will kick it all off, and that is, of course, Mr. Jack Burnicle.
Back in 1999, Troy Bayliss won here at Silverstone on his way to the British Superbike Championship. Neil Hodgson did the same in 2000, and the late, great, legendary Steve Hislop on his Monster Mob Ducati did the same in 2002. Could it be that Alex Lowe's is lining himself up for a possible double win on his way to the British Superbike Championship in 2013? Only time will tell, as Jenny Tinmouth has to push her motorcycle off the grid by the looks of it. The young lady from Ellesmere Port, the two-wheel racing Honda, getting pushed down the grid. Looks like it has got a problem. And it could be that Jenny will not make the start. And if she does, Mertz, Howie Mainwaring, Michael Rutter, Matteo Baiocco, Barry Burrell and Carl Harris. On On pole position on the starting grid, remarkably, is not that man, Alex Lowe's, but that man, number 67, Shaky Byrne, in front of Alex Lowe's Samsung Honda and Tommy Bridewell's Milwaukee Yamaha. The second row of the grid headed up by PJ Jacobson, ahead of his unlucky Taiko Suzuki teammate Josh Brooks, with James Ellison's Milwaukee Yamaha in sixth. Seventh place for Peter Hickman, loving it round here, ahead of James Westmoreland and John Kirkham on the build-based BMWs. Matteo Baiocco having a great day on the Rapido Sport Racing Panigale is 10th, ahead of Frenchman Freddie Foray making his return to this paddock, riding Samsung Honda, and Barry Burrell on the Quattro Plant Kawasaki. She would have to start from pit lane.
Yeah, and she's actually been off it a couple of times this weekend, unhurt, but it looks like that possibly had effect on the bike.
The championship standings look like this. Alex Lowe's is now 4 points ahead of Shane Byrne after their colossal clash in race 1. James Ellison is 34 points adrift on the Milwaukee Yamaha. He is ahead of Josh Brooks, Taiko Suzuki, James Westmoreland build-based BMW, and Yuichi Kinari's Samsung Honda. 7th place for John Kirkham, ahead of Tommy Bridewell, who had a proper do with PJ Jacobson. They're 1 point apart in 8th and 9th place, ahead of Chris Walker's Quattro Plant Kawasaki. Peter Hickman, Lloyd's British GB Motor Honda, is 11th, ahead of Keith Farmer. Dan Linfoot, who went out of race 1. Josh Waters had a good ride on the Hulsel Racing Kawasaki. He's now 14th, ahead of Jacobs, and then prepares for action. Number 67, Shaky Byrne. You would not believe the best way to deal with discomfort is to smile through it, and Shaky Byrne is a master of that art. He sits on pole position on the Rapid Solicitors Kawasaki. Alongside him, the new championship leader, Samsung Honda's Alex Lowe's. 14 laps of the 3.66 mile circuit. At Silverstone. Off the start. Great start by the Kawasaki of Shaky Byrne. Launches into Copse Corner. Alex Lowe's almost inevitably in second place, pursued by the two Taiko Suzukis, who I think may have got the better of Tommy Bridewell off the start. And as they launch down towards Maggots, it definitely is the Taiko Suzuki's running third and fourth, after Josh Brooks' desperately unfortunate departure from the first race. He's now attempting to force the pace early on. The fifth row behind those guys has Jakob Smerts, Josh Waters and Chris Walker. And after his desperately unlucky early departure from race 1, when torpedoed by Dan Linfoot, we find Norrie Hager back with Linfoot on the 7th row of the grid, so they'll need some sort of start from back there. There's number 21, twice Australian champion Josh Waters, riding now for Hulsel Kawasaki. Had a good ride in the first race. James Ellison and Tommy Bridewell will line up on the Milwaukee Yamahas. Bridewell on the front row of the grid, and just behind him, James Ellison. That's an interesting combination. There's Bridewell in the black helmet. Behind him, to his right, will be number 77, Ellison. So Bridewell, he's knowing where he belongs now on the front row of the grid. Has a quiet word with brother Ollie.